people, back again for another show while I'm out in Spain. I want to try and provide as much content as I can because the transfer window, although be it has not opened yet, there's still quite a lot happening, particularly around today. We're going to talk a little bit about Sesko. We're going to talk also about Douglas Luiz today, which is an unbelievable piece of news. And I'd love to get your opinions on it in the comments. I also want to talk a little bit about Kieran Tierney, who people are saying has decided that he will want out of Arsenal. There's also going to be some, I suppose, debate, chat about where Arsenal go with these two positions in midfield and up top, because we're clearly looking at players. We've got players on lists. We've got a couple of other things I want to talk to you about, one of which I think is very, very interesting piece of news, and I want to get your thoughts on it. Before you do that, please make sure that we like the video. Please make sure that you subscribe to the video. The last few videos, the views have been mad. Really appreciate you all for supporting the channel, and of course for getting us close to already to 21k, which is mad. To reach 20 and then a few days later hit almost 21 is fantastic. So please make sure that you're liking and subscribing. The channel's growing fantastically well, and that is down to you guys. Now, once you've liked and once you've subscribed, I need you to do me another favor. I need you to head over to footballprizes.co.uk. They've got unbelievable prizes like this one. This is a Thierry Henry signed and framed shirt. It is an absolute must for all of us Gooners. I've put myself in for it. Lee Judges has put himself in for it. This is one that you really cannot let slip, because it's going to be a fantastic potential prize to win. And the ticket price is so cheap, man. Honestly, it's ridiculous. In fact, there's about 3 or 4 on there that you could go and have a go at. So make sure that you go over to footballprizes.co.uk. This is actually an LED signed framed shirt with a video reel of Thierry Henry's best moments as well. So it's a fantastic opportunity. There is the opportunity as well to win a Gilberto Silva signed shirt and a Jack Wilshere signed shirt as well. So make sure that you do get yourself in for this one. There's loads of other prizes on there. It's actually Silverstone tickets. There's memorabilia for darts, memorabilia for boxing. There's also a lot of Euro stuff going on in relation to England, past montage, and mega bundles for the current squad as well. So please make sure you go over to Football Prizes, because they're great sponsors of the channel and it's good to promote and support them. Now, let's talk about it. Sesko, deal off. Why? Because he signed a new deal at RB Leipzig. Now, this one sometimes surprises me, but sometimes does not. And I'll explain what I mean by that. I've seen this happen a few times where there's been rumours and murmurings about where he's going to go. Is it Chelsea? Is it Arsenal? The Man United want him. The Liverpool want him. And then all of a sudden, boom, he stays. Now, there's 2 reasons why I think this has happened. The first reason, if you remember, last season, Victor Osimhen did something similar. Everybody was linked with him, and then he signed a new deal at Napoli. I think, one, it's to keep hold of his value. And 2, I'll be surprised if there's not a gentleman's agreement in there, which says, stay with us a year, let's see how good you really are, and let's see what value we can get for you next year, and we'll let you go if someone hits the price. And I think that's similar to Victor Osimhen this summer. I think he wants out of Napoli, and we'll come back onto that in a minute. Sesko signing this deal, I think, could have been a way to get more money for himself, to hold and keep his value and add more to his value for the club. So really, I think it works for all parties in terms of the club at Leipzig, the player himself. He's definitely got something financially going for him in terms of a new deal there. And it means that Chelsea and Arsenal will have to, for this summer at least, look for another target. Now, Sesko would have been the sort of mould that I would imagine Arsenal were looking at. 6'5", aerial ability, technically very good, high prospect, high ceiling, 21, literally just turned the other week. So he's got everything going for him. I don't think this is the player, however, that Arsenal bring in that wins Arsenal a title right now. This is one definitely thinking about the future. Don't get me wrong, he's going to come in and be versatile enough for us to at least have some options with Havertz, who can play different positions, Jesus can play different positions, and have Sesko, who's definitely that number 9. Being 6'5", I do think there's going to be a lot in the air that he can win. I also believe that he's got some strength and some physical attributes, which I think, not that we lack with Havertz, but actually that we can contribute and complement to Havertz and Jesus. So I think it would have been a signing that definitely would have done a lot of good. I can't sit there and say that I'm really disappointed though. And I'll be honest with you guys, there's only really 1 or 2 players that I would be disappointed that we weren't to get if we were linked with them. One of them, of course, would be Alexander Isak. That's not a player that's going to be available. Harry Kane, someone mentioned the other day. Would you have him if he become available? Of course I would, but that's not going to happen. The one that I would actually be really disappointed about if we link with him and it didn't happen would be Victor Gyökeres. And that's where I'm starting. I hope now, with a release clause of 84 million, that we look to go down that route. I don't think Toney, Watkins, Solanke are the ones that can 100% take us to that next level. And I look at what Gyökeres is, and I think he's got more about his game than those three players. I think Solanke's a bit of a killer in the box. I think Solanke's got a little bit about him, but I'm not excited by that signing. I wouldn't be. Ollie Watkins, unbelievable season. Would he take it to that next level? When I've seen him for England, he's flopped. He's been terrible when he's played, when he's started, even when he's come on. Ivan Toney, I think, would probably be the best out of the three, and probably would be less of a risk than Victor Osimhen because and Victor Gyökeres, because obviously he's played in this league. So that would be one that would not excite me and take me to new levels, but I'd be like, that's a good signing. The two Victors I want to talk about next. Victor Gyökeres is a player who has done very well over in England already for Coventry. People will laugh at the Championship, but it's one of the most competitive and physically testing leagues in the world, like facts. You don't know who's going to go up, who's going to go down. It toughens you up in that league. And also what it does is it allows you to take your game to a new level, because there's no other league like it in the world. Then you go over to a league in Portugal, which isn't phenomenal, but let's be real, I can't really call it a farmers league anymore. I don't look at the Portuguese league and think, wow, like, literally don't know any of these players, it's poor, don't know any of these teams. Benfica are a very good side. Sporting Lisbon have always been well respected, had some great players coming from them. So I'm not going to sit there and say that it's a phenomenal league, but at the same time, when you're killing it over there and putting 25, 30 goals in, fair play, you have to deserve to be looked at. You deserve to get a mention, and that's exactly what Victor Gyökeres is doing. And it's backed up for the fact that he scored 30 for Coventry and pretty much took them to a playoff final on his own. Let's have it right. So I think when you look at Victor Gyökeres, that could be a really good option, an opportunity for Arsenal to look into him. When I look at the other Victor, I think there is more risks there due to the fact that it will cost more money. There's injuries attached to it, as I mentioned yesterday, but I think that Arsenal might go all out for Osimhen now. I think that it might be the one that we look at. I know for a fact we've been looking at him for a couple of years. Let's be real, everybody has, right? It's not a name you look at now and go, not too sure about that one. Didn't see that one coming. Where's that come from? He wants out of Napoli, it's quite clear. He signed that contract for the same situation and scenarios I've just mentioned that I believe Sesko has for. And I think that it would be a signing that we could potentially get, I don't know, maybe close to between 80 and 100 million out of Napoli. To say, yeah, now we're going to start talking. We might have to throw some add-ons into it, but we know it's going to be £100 million signing probably, right? Do we want to go down that route, or do we go and get the Victor Gyökeres deal done, which would be a little bit less? Do we go and get an Ivan Toney, who would be much less, probably 50? I think Ivan Toney would actually cost less than Solanke and Watkins, believe it or not, and that's the one I would have over Solanke and Watkins for sure. Arsenal are going to get a striker. I just don't know which one it's going to be yet. And the rumours at the moment are linking us, of course, with Victor Osimhen. That could change. Solanke was mentioned 2 days ago. I'm sure Watkins and Toney will do the rounds again. I'm sure if Victor Gyökeres has got any link at all, Arsenal will be sniffing around him. So this is where we are when it comes to the striker at Arsenal. Now let's talk about the next bit of news. The news that I suppose shocked me, because yesterday we were sniffing around him for £50 million. Douglas Luiz is off and he's going to Juventus for £20 million. And I think it's something like 14 million that rises to 20 million. Plus McKennie, Weston McKennie. And then the other guy that I don't even know. Ealing Jr., is it? I mean, let's be real. Weston McKennie was shocking at Leeds. I mean, really poor. Juventus, no wonder they want to get rid of him. He went down with Leeds to the Championship. He is not a good footballer. I don't know what Aston Villa are playing at here. Like, maybe David Luiz wants out. Sorry, I always call him David Luiz, Douglas Luiz. Maybe he wants out. But let's be real. If I'm Villa, as a Villa fan, I'm really disappointed with this bit of news. And I'm not disappointed as an Arsenal fan, because I don't think Douglas Luiz was the absolute #1 target that I wanted. Of course, Bruno Guimaraes is that guy. Frankie de Jong would be another one ahead of him. And actually, Call me controversial. I'd rather buy Yusuf Fofana and Zubimendi ahead of him because I feel like they are two players we can get in with an actual position. Douglas Luiz, I'm not too sure where he fits in with Arsenal's first 11. Does he play as a 6? Does he play as the 8? Where does Rice go? I think with Zubimendi, you know he's a 6, and with Fofana, you know he's an 8. So if we were to go down that route, then potentially I would look at that. But I think Bruno is the one that I want. Now, it's got very quiet. Maybe he'll stay at Newcastle. Maybe he will go Man City. Maybe he's agreed to come to Arsenal. I don't know. But Douglas Luiz was one yesterday that it looked like Arsenal were willing to pay or willing to talk about paying that 50 million. Now, whether you believe that to be true and how reliable the sources are is a different story, right? We're here to talk. We're here to share information. We're no ITKs. I don't have somebody in the club that knows what's going on. We just talk about it and debate it on the show, and that's what it's about. And I'm just kind of shocked, really, that that's the deal that got done. Now, Douglas Luiz is probably cool with it because he gets to play for Juventus. I'm just so surprised that Juventus have put up that offer and Aston Villa have gone, yeah, go on then. Like, really? Are they really that desperate? Are they badly in the PSR, FFP stuff? Because it sounds like it. If they're accepting that for him, then wow, maybe Ollie Watkins might go for about 40 million if that's the case. It's crazy for me. It really is. So where does that leave Arsenal? Arsenal aren't really linked with any midfielders this summer heavily. They're sniffing around Bruno, they're sniffing around Fofana, they're interested in Zubimendi, they're on the list for X, Y, Z. But I don't really know which one we're going to end up with. Now, if it was me, I'd want Bruno Guimaraes. I think he would be fantastic for us. Can play in the 6 and the 8. When you look at the stats for this season in midfield, won the most fouls in the top 5 leagues in Europe. Interceptions was fantastic. Can drive on the ball. Can score goals as well, by the way. I think he'd be phenomenal. But if we don't release the clause, which Arsenal can't do for FFP and PSR reasons, he will have to accept wanting to leave Newcastle, wanting to come to Arsenal, and we've got to try and agree a deal, which I believe will be close between 80 to 100 million at Newcastle, that he could come to Arsenal, and I just don't know that I can see that happening. So I think there's going to be a couple of shocks this summer, and I wanted to throw a last one there out at you. Is there a shock for Jadon Sancho linked to Arsenal? There's rumours that he could be available for £40 million, I'm hearing. £40 million, that for me, I would much prefer than Rashford. I'll tell you why. Rashford plays left wing and left wing only. Jadon Sancho can play both. Jadon Sancho would be fantastic competition for Bukayo Saka. I still believe there's a baller in there. I still believe there's a player in there. I don't think he's as old as Rashford, correct me if I'm wrong. And I also do believe that when he's gone over to Dortmund, he's absolutely killed it, which means he's got first team football and a manager that coaches him and understands him and believes in his game, and he's starting to impress. So I don't think Sancho is a bad footballer. I just think he's gone to United and it hasn't worked out. If he was available for 40 million, would you take him? I don't know, maybe I would. I wouldn't take him over Pedro Neto or Elise, but I would take Jadon Sancho if it was 35, 40 million pounds. Absolutely I would. So maybe some of these options Arsenal are looking at this summer might not be as expensive as we're thinking. Maybe if we went for a Tony at 40 to 50 million, and we went for Sancho at 40 million, and we went for Fofana at 25 and Zubimendi at 50, maybe all of a sudden we haven't actually spent that much money. Now, don't get me wrong, it's still a lot of money, but we're not spending 200 million just on these two and then another 200 on the other four. That for me would be more of an unrealistic summer, but probably a dream one for everyone. But actually, when you look at it, there are some options out there that could be cheaper. I wanted to end on the news on Kieran Tierney. You all know my thoughts on Kieran Tierney. You all know he's one of my favourite players. You all know I absolutely love everything about him. And the reason I do is because he epitomises everything I want to see in a footballer. Not just at Arsenal, just a footballer. In terms of winning mentality, in terms of giving 110%, in terms of his leadership skills on and off the pitch, in terms of the fact that he will go out there and be one of the most professional, whether he's playing or on the bench. He hasn't moaned once about Arsenal. He hasn't said anything bad about the club. He hasn't thrown his toys out the pram in a period where Pepe did, Guendouzi did, Ozil did, Kolasinac did, Mustafi did, Aubameyang did. All these guys that did, he wasn't one of them. He stuck with it. He played free at the back. He played left back. He's old school. He goes forward, he bombs it, he puts the ball in the box. He can play left back. He can play left centre back. And believe it or not, when he was inverting, yeah, Arteta didn't like it, but at least he did it. He didn't moan about it. Then he went out and he got himself first team football at Real Sociedad, and now it looks like he's potentially going to be available for as little as £10 million. We bought him for 25. Guys, he's 26 years old. This guy is not a bad footballer. And if you're telling me now, do I want Zinchenko or Tierney? I want Tierney. If you're telling me now, do I sell Tavares or Tierney? I'm selling Tavares. If you tell me right now, am I playing Kivior as the backup or from Timber? I'm playing Tierney over Kivior. Yeah, Tierney is a good left back. It's just a shame that he's now going to go for pittance. We're going to end up spending £35 million on Tierney and Tavares together combined, and we're going to end up probably getting about 12 million back. Bad signings in the end. Hasn't worked out. I don't think Mikel Arteta has got this one right with Kieran Tierney, but I think he's got a lot right with others. I just think Kieran Tierney could be a very good squad player for Arsenal. And maybe he stays, I don't know. Maybe nobody wants him because of injuries, which, by the way, he's got less injuries than Zinchenko and Tomiyasu, but we've still got hold of them. So why is he getting shipped out? Arteta clearly don't like him. And people say, oh my God, moaning about Tierney. I think you know more than the manager. I'll get that in the comments, trust me. There'll be a lot of people that get very rattled by this. I think Kieran Tierney's a good player. Shoot me. I think he's a great player. And if I'm honest with you, it wouldn't surprise me if he went back to Celtic. It wouldn't surprise me if he went to Newcastle, went up north. I don't think there's any top players, teams that are going to come in for him past that. He's not going to go to a Real Madrid or a Bayern Munich. He's probably not even going to go to a Chelsea or Manchester United. But what I will say is I know Pep was looking at him once. And I know that Arteta really liked him once. But I think that there was a definite upgrade in a inverted left back that he wanted, and he just didn't see that Tierney fitted that role. So that's where it's at. We're going to leave it there, people. Sesko, Douglas Luiz, Kieran Tierney. Let me know what you think about Jadon Sancho, ? We're out of it, people. We'll see you next time. Like, subscribe, and go check out Football Prizes. We're out.